Okay, so for the warm-up, the first exercise is going to be the 50 count of single jump ropes. Jump rope allows the heart rate to go up in preparation for the workout. Use your calf muscles, loosens up your ankles, and all around has a positive impact on the heart rate of your body. You're going to go ahead and make sure that you're always on the balls of your feet to activate the calf muscles, get your heart rate up, and count all the way till 50. The next exercise in this video is going to be 25 air squats. You're going to go ahead and get in squat position, shoulder width apart. You're going to go ahead and descend into a squat. Make sure that your knees don't pass your feet. And make sure that you are always parallel to the ground so that you don't lean too much forward or too much back. Make sure your feet are planted at all times. This exercise allows you to activate your hip flexors and your legs in order to prepare for the workout. The next exercise in this warm-up is going to be 5 push-ups. I cannot do regular push-ups, so I modify the push-ups with a bent knee. You're going to go ahead and get on all fours, get in push-up position. Make sure that you descend all the way down into a 90-degree angle. Make sure that you keep your back from sinking, as that can cause strain to your lumbar spine. The push-ups will target your pectoralis major and your abdominal muscles in order to activate your muscles for the workout, in preparation for the workout. You are then going to repeat the 50 jump rope, 25 air squats, and 5 push-ups 3 more times. And then we're going to move on to the dynamic stretching of the warm-up. For the dynamic stretching of the warm-up, I decided to go ahead and include quad pulls and calf stretches. Quad pulls consist of holding your ankle behind your back and holding for 3 seconds. You're then going to go walk 3 steps into the next quad pull for 3 seconds, and you're going to repeat down and back on each leg. You're going to go ahead and make sure that you don't excessively stretch your quad muscle, as that can strain the quad muscles in the thigh. The next exercise in this warm-up is going to be walking calf stretches. You're going to go into standing position, then you're going to go ahead and lead with one foot and point your toes into a dorsiflexion and hold for 3 seconds. You're then going to go ahead and walk 3 steps into the next dorsiflexion of your ankle and hold for 3 seconds. You're going to go ahead and go down and back, and make sure not to overextend your back or your calf muscle to prevent injury. You're going to go ahead and then repeat each one more time for a total of 2 sets. The next warm-up exercise is going to be back slaps. It's going to be 20 to 25. You're going to go ahead and extend your arms all the way out to extend and stretch your chest. You're going to go ahead and contract all the way to where your palms touch the back in order to stretch out your back. You're going to repeat this 20 to 25 times, and make sure that you don't overextend your chest. The next exercise is going to be a lateral stretch with your arm over your head. You're going to go ahead and get in standing position. Stretch your arm over your head to stretch out your obliques on each side. Go ahead and make sure that you don't overextend, so you don't want to pull anything to prevent from injury. And in preparation for the warm-up, this will activate your oblique muscles. Go ahead and repeat this 2 more times for a total of 3 sets. First modality in this video is going to be resistance training. I went ahead and chose shoulder press for the upper body section. This exercise targets your deltoids and your trapezius. Make sure that you are resting against this bench, as well as your abdominals, and have weight that you can handle above your head. You're going to go ahead and ascend into locking your arms, and then you're going to go ahead and descend into a 90-degree angle on both sides for a full rep. You're going to always make sure that there's a spotter behind you in case you cannot lift the weight. You are also going to make sure that you are not overarching your back, as it can cause strain to your lumbar spine. A modification to this exercise will be alternating dumbbell shoulder press. Isolating each arm will make it easier to lift, as you will need less power from your deltoids and trapeze. In this variation, you're going to go ahead and sit on the bench, and then while descending one arm and ascending it back to the top, the other arm will be in an isometric hold above your head. You're then going to go ahead and make sure that both arms, when alternating, are at a 90-degree angle. Again, you will have a spotter just to make sure that the person can lift the weight. For a more intense modification, you are going to go ahead and complete single arm shoulder press, but standing. Stepping away from using the bench will provide more activation on the abdominal muscles in order to stabilize from leaning too much forward or leaning too much back. Again, this will target the trapezius muscles and the deltoids. You're going to go ahead and make sure to keep your arms at a 90-degree angle. And again, you will have a spotter for this to prevent any injury. For the lower body, I chose squats, a 2-leg squat with dumbbells. You are going to go ahead and get into a shoulder width stance. Have both dumbbells over your shoulders. Make sure that your knees don't go over your toes, and descend into a squat formation. I'm going to go ahead and ascend and repeat for 10 more times. This exercise allows your hip flexors to be activated along with your quads and hamstrings for a triple extension. An easier modification to this dumbbell squat would be a sumo dumbbell squat. As the stance is wider, it is easier to descend and ascend from the squat, and having the weight in between allows for better stabilization. You will have to make sure that your toes are pointing out at all times. Make sure that your knees don't pass your toes, and prevent your back from arching as well. A more advanced or a more activated squat would be a pulsing dumbbell squat. Pulsing allows for more activation in your hip flexors as well as your quad. And this shorter range of motion allows for your quad to be more targeted than your hamstrings, as the hamstring is not activated with a short extension. The second modality I had chosen was kettlebell exercises. For the upper body one, I had chosen bent over rows. I go ahead and get into a shoulder width stance, bend over slightly, have both arms contract in order to contract your upper back muscles. You're going to go ahead and ascend and descend with each kettlebell, and make sure that your back and abdominal muscles are kept tight in order to prevent any injury to the lumbar spine. A modification to this exercise would be a bent over row on a bench. You are going to go ahead and sit on a bench that's inclined. Make sure that you contract your back on each rep, and make sure not to overextend your back to prevent injury to the lumbar spine. This modification allows you to pick up the weight as you are more stable against the bench. An advanced modification would be alternating kettlebell bent over rows. I made the mistake of recording only a single arm at a time, but it's supposed to be alternating one after another. You're gonna make sure you contract your back on each side without tilting. So you have to make sure that your hips and your upper body is always parallel to the ground to prevent any injury. Alternating rows without the bench allows for your core to be activated even more to stabilize in this exercise. For the lower body kettlebell exercise, I chose lunges. I was trying to mimic the forward lunges, but ended up completing walking lunges. This was meant to be stationary forward lunges to show you what a lunge would look like. This was supposed to be in a stationary position, so then you would go ahead and make sure that both kettlebells are each side of your legs. You're going to go ahead and extend your foot forward into a 90-degree angle. You're going to make sure that the back leg is also at a 90-degree angle to prevent any strain on the legs. Then I'm going to go ahead and repeat on each side, and that would complete the lunge formation. You're going to go ahead and make sure that you're parallel to the ground at all times. Make sure that you don't lean too much forward or too much back with the weight. This exercise will allow you to target your quadriceps, your hamstrings, and hip flexors as you make a full extension into the 90-degree angle. A modification to this exercise in order to make it easier would be doing reverse lunges. This modification allows you to put less stress on your quadriceps and hamstring muscles. For this exercise, you're going to go ahead and make sure that you're at a 90-degree angle at all times. Make sure you're not leaning forward, as the weight has that effect on people. You're going to make sure that your hips are always parallel to the front, and make sure that your ankles are always facing forward, as you don't want to strain your ankles if your foot is inward or outward when performing a back lunge. A more advanced modification to this exercise would be a lateral kettlebell lunge. We're going to go ahead and get to a standing position with one kettlebell. You're going to go ahead and laterally lift your leg and give a slight bend. You're going to go ahead and make sure that the opposite leg is locked and straight in order to target the leg being extended. This exercise allows you to target your hip flexors and increase activation in your quadriceps. Also to make sure that you don't overextend your leg, as you can put strain on your knee joint as well as your hip flexors. The next modality chosen was the rubber band exercises anchored to the pole. For the upper body exercise, I chose tricep extensions. In order to perform tricep extensions with the rubber band, you're going to go ahead and anchor the rubber band to the pole above your head. You're going to go ahead and put your arms in its pronated position. And then you're going to go ahead and extend your arms into a lock and then descend into a 90-degree angle. You're going to go ahead and repeat. This exercise allows you to target your triceps. A modification to this exercise would be lateral tricep extensions, as the grip is easier to obtain. You're going to go ahead and make sure that the grip is facing towards each other. You're going to go ahead and extend to a full extension and then ascend into a 90-degree angle. I'm going to go ahead and repeat. This modification allows you to obtain better grip on the rubber band in order to complete each rep more easily. You are going to go ahead and make sure that your core is tight in order to stabilize yourself against the rubber band. Make sure that you don't let the rubber band tug you back and counteract it. For a more advanced modification, you're going to go ahead and place your hands on the rubber band in a supinated position. You're going to go ahead and make sure again that you counteract the resistance, but your core is tight for stabilization. You're going to go ahead and descend into a lock of the elbows and then descend into a 90-degree angle. This modification allows you to target your forearms as well as your tricep muscles. Your tricep muscles become more activated. For the lower body exercise and the rubber band exercises, I chose leg curls. Here we are going to demonstrate lying leg curls with a rubber band anchored to the pole. You're going to go ahead and place both feet into the rubber band. Make sure that you're at a good distance for added resistance. You're going to go ahead and lie on the ground, and you're going to go ahead and contract your legs in order to activate your hamstrings for full extension. You're going to go ahead and make sure that you are flat on the ground, as anything else would cause strain to your lumbar spine. You are also going to make sure that both feet are coming up at the same time to prevent any tilting. You are also going to make sure that your toes are always flexed upward, pointing upward, in order to gain full activation of your calf and hamstring muscles. An easier modification to this exercise would be laying on a bench instead of the floor. This allows for more stabilization to perform each rep for the exercises. This modification will limit the overextension of the back as well, preventing further injury. You are going to go ahead and make sure that you are a good distance away from the anchor position in order for added resistance and the most effective way to get for each rep. For a more advanced modification, you're going to go ahead and place a single leg into the rubber band. You're going to go ahead and make sure you lift your leg into a 90-degree angle and make sure that you're a good distance away for added resistance for the most effective rep. The isolation of one leg while standing allows for more activation in your hamstring muscles as it is being extended and descended for a full contraction. You're going to go ahead and make sure that you're always parallel to the pole in front of you. Make sure not to extend your back or arch your back in order to prevent any injury. The fourth modality that I have chosen is going to be the TRX exercises. For the upper body exercise, I have chosen push-ups. You're going to go ahead and place each hand into the TRX cables. Make sure that your back is straight, core is tight, your legs aren't sinking in. Make sure that you get each full rep by descending into a 90-degree angle and ascending into a lockout. Exercise targets your pectoralis major, your trapezius, and teres muscles. Exercise also allows you to target your abdominal muscles for stabilization. An easier modification to this exercise would be an incline push-up on the TRX cables. You're going to go ahead and make sure that you're at an incline position, having your upper body higher than your legs. You're going to go ahead and place your arms in the TRX cables. Make sure you perform a full push-up contraction as you descend your arms into the 90-degree angle and extend into a lockout. You're going to go ahead and make sure that your back is not sunken in to prevent any injury from your lumbar spine. And also make sure that your core is tight for the stabilization. A more advanced modification would be a staggered push-up on the TRX cables. You're going to go ahead and place only one arm into the TRX cable and place the other one on the ground. This modification allows you to target more of your triceps and your pectoralis major in order to stabilize yourself. This modification also activates your abdominal muscles more as you are trying to prevent yourself from tilting. So you have to make sure also to keep your pelvis and your upper body parallel to the ground at all times. I was not able to complete a regular staggered push-up on the TRX cable machine, so I had to modify it by bending my knees to make sure that I got the full range of motion. For the lower body exercise, I have chosen calf raises. To perform a TRX calf raise, you're going to go ahead and start in an incline position, leaning on the TRX cables at a higher position than normal. You're going to place both hands into the cables. You're going to go ahead and raise your calves, and then you're going to go ahead and descend and raise again. You're going to make sure that you're always pointing your toes and always leaning against the TRX cable to create that incline position. Make sure that your lower back does not come down to prevent any injury. This exercise also targets your abdominal muscles as you are trying to stabilize in each rep. For an easier modification, you are going to go ahead and make sure that you hold each calf raise for 3 seconds. This allows for better recovery for each rep. You are also to make sure that you are not overextending your back to prevent any injury. For a more advanced modification, I have chosen elevated calf raises on the TRX cables. You're going to go ahead and get a plate to elevate your feet. You're going to go ahead and step on the plate, lean against the TRX cables for an incline position. You're going to go ahead and make sure you ascend to contract your calf muscles and descend all the way to the ground. This modification allows for a longer range of motion and higher activation on the calf muscles. The fifth modality I have chosen is going to be the bodyweight calisthenics. For the upper body exercise, I chose pull-ups. You're going to go ahead and make sure you're in a pronated grip on the bar. You're going to make sure you ascend above the chin and descend all the way for a full extension. Gonna go ahead and make sure that you're not overarching your back or swinging in order to prevent injury to your lumbar spine and deltoids. This exercise targets your abdominal muscles, your lats, and your biceps. For an easier modification, I have chosen supinated pull-ups. The supinated grip allows for an easier ascend into the pull-up, as well as a better grip on the pull. This modification also activates the biceps more than the lats, creating an easier ascend. A more advanced modification would include a pronated wide grip pull-up. The wide grip pull-up allows you to target your lat muscles more than your bicep muscles, creating a more challenging effect to the ascend and descend. You're going to go ahead and make sure that your grip is secure and place your hands wider than your shoulders in order to create the wide grip stance. You're going to go ahead and make sure that you're not overextending your arms and locking out your shoulders to prevent any strain on your deltoids. I was not able to complete any pull-up modifications, so I had stepped on a bench just to show the movements. For the lower body exercise, I included glute bridges. You're going to go ahead and get into a lying position. Make sure to bend your knees. Make sure both feet are planted on the ground. You're going to go ahead and raise your pelvic girdle parallel to your legs and upper body. You're going to go ahead and then descend and then ascend to repeat 1 rep. You are going to go ahead and make sure that you're not overarching your back, as you can cause strain to your lumbar spine. So make sure that your heels and toes are always planted at all times. This exercise targets your glutes, lower back muscles, and abdominal muscles. A modification to make this glute bridge easier would be to elevate your back in order to limit even more so any strain on your lower back. You are going to go ahead and make sure that you're ascending into a 90-degree angle and descending. You make sure while you're descending and ascending that your feet are planted firmly on the ground. Make sure not to overextend your pelvic girdle. For an advanced modification on this exercise, you're going to go ahead and elevate your feet, more so your heels, onto a box or bench. You're then going to go ahead and perform a glute bridge as you ascend. Make sure you are parallel from your thighs to your chest. You're going to make sure not to overarch your back to prevent any injury or strain. This modification allows you to target your hamstrings as you are fully extending your hip flexors, creating a more challenging glute bridge. For the final modality, I chosen Swiss ball exercises. For the upper body exercise, I chose planks. You're going to go ahead and make sure you place both feet onto the stability ball. Make sure both arms are below the shoulders in a almost locked out position. You're going to go ahead and make sure that you keep your abdominal muscles tight, as it prevents any sucking from your lower back. You are also going to make sure that your pelvis and upper body are always parallel to the ground, and also make sure not to twist or move your body on the stability ball. For an easier modification, you are going to go ahead and get into a plank position by placing both feet onto the stability ball. But this time you are going to place your forearms on the ground below your shoulders, as it allows you to become more stable and prevent any strain to your wrists. For a more advanced modification, you are going to go ahead and either find a box or a bench. You're going to go ahead and place your feet on the box or bench, and then place your forearms on the stability ball. This modification allows you to balance on both ends, creating more activation in your abdominal muscles, as well as your shoulders and legs for stabilization. You are again to make sure that your lumbar spine does not overextend to prevent any injury, as well as let your pelvic girdle twist. For the lower body exercise, I have chosen wall sits with the stability ball. And place the stability ball between you and the wall behind. And then you're going to go ahead and descend into a 90-degree angle with a shoulder width stance. Make sure that your knees don't go past your toes, and then you're going to hold. You are also going to make sure that your knees don't externally rotate outward to prevent any strain on your knee joints. This exercise allows you to build your stabilization and strength and endurance in your quadriceps, hamstrings, calf muscles, and an easier modification to this exercise would be a wall sit roll out. You're going to go ahead and place the stability ball between you and the wall. You're going to go ahead and get into a shoulder width stance. You're going to go ahead and then descend with the ball rolling, and then ascend, ball rolling up as well. This allows for more recovery time and less tension in your adductor muscles, quadriceps, hamstrings, and calf muscles. For a more advanced modification to this exercise, you would go ahead and perform a single leg wall sit with a stability ball. We're going to go ahead and place the stability ball between you and the wall. You're going to go ahead and then descend into a 90-degree angle and lift one leg. This modification allows you to put more stress on the adductor muscles, the calf muscles, and the hamstring muscles as well. This isometric exercise allows you to build strength on each leg individually. For the final part of the workout, which is the cool down and static stretching, I went ahead and completed 50 cal on the bike in order to loosen up any tension in the legs, abdominal muscles, and the arms. Full body. After the 50 cal bike, we are then gonna go ahead and perform some static stretches. The first static stretch is the lying leg crossover stretch for your lower back. We're gonna go ahead and lay down and place one leg over the other in a bent knee and hold for 15 seconds on each leg. You are then going to complete a lying glute stretch in order to stretch the gluteus maximus. You are going to start off in a lying position. You're going to go ahead and place one leg ankle to the opposite leg. You're going to go ahead and hold your hamstring and push forward in order to stretch your gluteus maximus. This exercise also stretches your hamstring, so you're going to go make sure that you don't want to overextend it to prevent any injury. You're going to also make sure that you're not tilting your pelvic girdle, and then repeat on each side. The next stretch is going to be the externally rotated bent knee stretch. You're going to go ahead and place both feet together, externally rotate both knees from a bending position, and you're going to go ahead and stretch forward as far as you can reach. You're going to go ahead and make sure that your back is not arched like I am doing here in order to prevent any injury. You are then going to perform a sitting hamstring toe touch stretch. You are going to start off in a sitting position, and then you're going to go ahead and bend one knee towards the other thigh of the other leg. You're going to go ahead and reach for your toes and stretch your hamstrings. Then going to go ahead and repeat on the other side. Make sure to not overextend your hamstring. You are also going to complete the stretch by putting both legs together and reaching for your toes as well. After this, you are also going to perform a arm cross shoulder stretch. You're going to go ahead and stand in a standing position. You're going to go ahead and place one arm over across your shoulder of the opposite arm, and then with that opposite arm you're going to hold it to stretch your deltoids, and be repeating it on the other arm and hold for 15 seconds. You are then going to complete a hand behind the back stretch on each arm. You're going to go ahead and place one arm over to the middle of your back, and then with the other opposite arm, you're going to go ahead and hold your elbow for a total of 15 seconds and repeat on each arm. You are then going to repeat each static stretch exercise once more for a total of 2 sets. For the final part of the cool down, you're going to go ahead and grab a foam roller. You're going to go ahead and then roll any parts of your body that are still too tight to stretch. For rolling out your back, you're going to go ahead and place the foam roller at either top or the bottom of your back. You're going to go ahead and then descend or ascend all the way down or up your spine. Make sure you're going to go ahead and go at a controlled pace in order to roll out all necessary knots. The next part to roll out would be the hamstrings. You're going to go ahead and place the foam roller underneath your hamstring of a single leg in order to put more pressure on the hamstring. You're going to make sure that you're going to roll out at a controlled tempo and then repeat on the other leg. In order to roll out your calf muscles, you're going to go ahead and place the foam roller underneath your calf of one leg and lift the other in order to put more pressure on the part being rolled out. You're going to go ahead and repeat on the other leg. The last place to roll out would be the outer thighs and hips. You would go ahead and place your outer thigh of one leg onto the foam roller while the other leg is being crossed over in order to provide more pressure and a more effective rollout. You're then going to go ahead and do this on the other leg as well, and then that will complete the workout.